Happy Rosh Chodesh, guys. We have an amazing, amazing event tonight. Today is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Anything can happen today. A Persian can marry a Moroccan tonight. Everything's possible tonight. Miracles. This is the day. This today represents. First, I want to thank my wife for allowing me to do these classes. I want to Leunishma Yerachmil Diana ben Gedale. And today's also the birthday of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. So we have everything's lined up tonight. Everything's lined up tonight. So let's try to sober up a little bit. Let's get into real. Let's get into some consciousness. So today represents Rosh Chodesh Nisan. This is all about. We spoke about yesterday about Rosh Chodesh, about the concept of renewal, beginnings, new beginnings. What this allows us to do is allows us to have a brand new attitude. We come to these events. Sometimes a person can, go to these events. He's single 3, 4 years, 5 years, and he can get a little knocked down. His spirit could be knocked down. But we always have the ability to renew ourselves. So it's extremely important that you should walk in here like it's the first time you walked in here. Every single time you go on a date, it's the first time. That's what Nisan does. So this month, what happens is this month, the limitations are gone. So you have a little bit more clarity. If you know the one thing I want to get you guys into is clarity. Because if you're confused, you're not getting married. Nobody's getting married when they're confused. They're getting married when they're clear. So this month, we actually have energy from above, even if we don't do anything, to get a little bit more clarity. So when you're in a peak state, that's the day you want to take some action in life. So remember, Nisan, take advantage of these days. It's 30 days of Nisan. Take advantage of liberation. This exactly is the time that the Jews left Egypt. Egypt represents our limitations. When we're leaving Egypt, we have to visualize ourselves breaking these walls of limitations that we have. I'm sure we've all dated, and the problem is not the people usually. It's the fear, it's the walls, it's the excuses. It's a very good-looking crowd here. LA is a wonderful place. I love LA, but obviously there's no transactions happening. So we really need some transactions. We have a busy mall, but no shopping bags. You understand? That's how you go out of business. You get me? So we want to have transactions. So this is I'm really into the transactions. Okay, how do we bring it home? How do we bring it home? What do we need to do to get that extra clarity? And at the end of the day, Reb Nachman said it very clearly. He says the biggest segula, the biggest remedy for marriage is to listen to Dat. Listen to a class on this. So this itself, even if you're half drunk, you're still getting a segula automatically, just by being in the room. So already that's a positive sign. So remember, Dat is the maker of all matches. We're going to talk about a bunch of topics today. But today is the day, like I said before yesterday, is the day we go from one day to day one. We'll talk about the 40-day challenge. We'll talk about prayer. We'll talk about a little bit about everything. But you have to make one day, day one. This is the day where you say day one. Your life is going to change on decisions. One little decision will change your whole life. And that decision will give you momentum. And through momentum, very simple, when people have momentum, they feel good about themselves. And then when they feel good about themselves, they take further action. Remember, we don't take action if we don't feel good about ourselves. So today, even if you make a small step, a small commitment, I'm going to start 5 minutes of gratitude. I'm going to start 5 minutes of Shabbat. I'm going to do a candle, something. You have to create one day to day one. If day one never happens, nothing will happen. So just think about practically what you could do. And again, we don't want to force people into things. I hate selling things to people. All I'm trying to explain to you is when you're more spiritual, you're going to have more clarity, and you're going to be satisfied with less, which will lead you to a happier marriage and a happier life. But when we're not spiritual, our net worth is our self-worth. Period. So if our net worth is our self-worth, then what else can you do? Let's say you didn't make enough money or you got stuck in the wrong, that's your life. So spirituality allows you to think greater than the current circumstances. This is exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about today the concept of what the role is for the man and what the role is for the woman. And when sexual behavior is done properly, it becomes one of the greatest ways to eliminate your wife. But when it's done improperly, it becomes the biggest source of destruction. You understand? Like anything else in life, when it's done properly, it's great. It elevates. Kids come out. Happy wife, happy life. But when the intention in life is just to get, not to give, then everything else just becomes a disaster. And what happens is, in life, when we pick up residual damage, that causes klipot, which in Hebrew means confusion. So when you're confused, you're not going to make decisions. You're going to always think you can get better. You're always going to think, you're just going to be in your head all day long. And that's really, really what we want to get you guys a little bit of clarity. Today also begins the month where God's name is Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Everything flows. It's a month of flowing. Next month is a whole different story. So when you have a chance, just like today, you see today, a little sun. The guy got a little sun, everybody's walking the dog, and then the sun's gone. We have to take advantage, even today. LA, I would never think that I would be in London weather. But even a little sun, people were happy. A little sun, 20 minutes of a little sun. Before, you're used to the sun all day. So you don't take it for granted. You take it for granted. But right now, if the sun would shine right now for 3 hours, everybody in LA would be praising God. Because what happens is you became accustomed to good weather. So when it's taken away from you, you start appreciating what you have. You start appreciating what we have. We don't move to LA for governors. We move for the weather, obviously. Obviously, or for the taxes, or for everything else. You're moving for the weather. So I want to start the class by giving you a little story about Nadav and Avihu, who actually passed away on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And what was their issue? They were the single guys of the generation. Okay? What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of life according to Reb Nachman? The purpose of life is to turn, not to sit there and avoid sorrow in life, but to take sorrow and bring it to happiness. Do you understand? It's not enough today to say, you know what, I want to be happy, I'm just going to push away all my problems, and I'm going to find a way to be happy, I'm going to avoid all my problems, and I'm going to be happy. That's not what the law is. That's not what we're supposed to do. The biggest happiness, Reb Nachman tells us, is when we turn the sorrow into happiness. The problem into the solution. Every problem has a solution. It's in the solution itself. The problem and the solution, it's all one. So he's saying here, Reb Nachman, something unbelievable. He says, incense in marriage, the whole concept of incense in marriage is turning sorrow into joy. What in the world is the man's purpose, and what is the world is the female's purpose in this thing? So Reb Nachman tells us that once we have happiness, automatically, just like you can't think of two negative thoughts at the same time, a person can only have one thought at the same time. He can either, if you're thinking positively, you cannot think negatively. It's impossible to think of two things at the same time. Even if you have ADHD, whatever you got. It's not possible to focus on two things at the same time. So Reb Nachman says when a person's happy, automatically gloom and depression go away. So whatever I focus on in my life expands. For example, I gave you guys yesterday, the more you thank God, the less you need to think about it. Thanking pushes away thinking. But thinking too much doesn't allow you to think. So you can either thank or you can think. But you can't do both. So Reb Nachman is telling you here that the greatest joy is when you take sorrow and bring it into simcha. So what is the role of the man? The woman itself is connected to the feminine side of the Malchus, which represents the left side. The left side is known to be Gevura. Gevura in Kabbalah means justice, din. Anytime we're talking about the concept of din, there's a concept of more judgment and sadness. Women in generally, again, I don't want to create, I'm just reading the book. Don't send me emails because I won't even read them. I don't want these emails, leftist emails. Again, I'm just reading the book. Just read between the lines. So women in general, they need to be lifted up. They're the concept of the moon. And men are the concept of the sun. Okay? Let's keep it super simple. Women are connected more to sadness, so they need more validation. They need more honor. This drives the shopping markets. You know, when a person buys a new dress, they get a compliment. It gives them honor. It's normal. It's perfectly normal. But the man's job in life is to give them that honor, to lift the Shekhinah off the ground, to lift his wife off the ground. Okay? And one way you can do that is by having sexual relations. Happy wife, happy life. Why? Because a man is commanded to make his wife happy in that department. Okay? So if he makes his wife happy in that department and there's Kedusha, then she's happy, period. But if the relations are used the improper way, nobody's happy. The wife is not happy, he's not happy, and it's a disaster. Do you understand why we're talking about so much about this issue? Because the whole role of being a giver is that I'm supposed to be, as a husband, being able to fulfill my wife's needs through that act of sexuality. If it's done proper, it serves its purpose, the wife is happy, and that is the goal. So you see today, where people go into relationships, what are they going to get out of it instead of bonding? When you bond, you become the giver, she becomes the taker, and you get the reflected light. But when the guy is going in there just to give, just to get, he's not fulfilling because there's no receiver. So anytime there's no receiver, it's just like me taking a football, throwing it here, and there's nobody there. So what happens? The ball goes to the other side. The ball goes nowhere. And that ball becomes an entity that I created. So a lot of problems in relationships come to this issue that there's the intention is only to get, not to give. Okay? And this is where this month, Nadav and Avihu were Aaron's sons. They passed away today. Because, you know what they said? If we get married, I'm going to have to deal with my wife. I'm going to have to give her compliments. I'm going to have to, when she's upset, I'm going to validate her. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to have to help her with the kids. I'm going to have to do this. And all of this stuff is a burden to me. So you know what? I don't want to get married. I just want to be single. I want to do what I want. And guess what? The Torah says because of that, you don't want to go down to the level. You don't want to help her. You're going to die. You're going to die. Do you understand? Because you're not fulfilling your role. Your role as a man is to go lift the wife up. That is your role. So this is why we can't criticize, we can't comment. Our relationship is with God. And this is why you see the book, The Garden of Peace. It's only for men, by the way. It's only for men, not for women. Don't use it as Exhibit A. Rabbi Rush said, Exhibit A, you have to do this. This is not meant to be used at a trial. But I just want you to understand the role of the man. The man is more connected to simcha, and the woman is more connected to sadness. And the man has to come in, and he has to become the light, and he has to give her the sad. He has to lift her up. And this is why, again, God made man to have the mitzvah of getting married. Woman, according to the Arizal, has no mitzvah to get married. She has no mitzvah to have kids. The job is she comes into this world only for him. She comes into this world only for him. Again, don't use this to say, I'm here for you. What are you doing with your life? Again, we don't want to use this as arrogance, but we want to get the big... It's very important to get the big picture in life. Because if you don't get the big picture, you get stuck on the details. So this is why we have to understand the role of the man. If he does his job, he's the one looking for her. She's not looking for him. So today you have the cycle's over. The women are looking for the guy's looking for the wrong girls. And again, guys cannot marry a wife, a trophy wife. You have to marry a wife that's going to get you the trophy in life. If you're just looking for trophy wives, it's not good. Can this woman get me to the trophy? That is your role. To marry, the guy's role is to marry the wife to get him to actualize his potential in his life. Extremely important. So when he's getting rejected, it's really God rejecting him. God's rejecting him through the woman. Do you understand? This is what this book talks about. This is very tough stuff to swallow. Okay? It's very tough. Don't worry, I'm going to give it to the girls also. But the guys, the main role, if you understand that why God made it just like that, and this is why our sages tell us that Parnasa doesn't come from the husband. Where does Parnasa come from? It comes from the wife. Why would they do that? Because you got to get paid for all this work, right? You got to get paid. Nothing's going to be for free. But the Parnasa comes because he humbled himself. He gave her the light, and guess what? He gets the light right back. So you have to understand, if you're a guy and you're coming as a receiver, you're in the wrong role already. You're in the wrong role. Already, everything's going to be a disaster. Because you're coming in as a moon. You're not coming as a sun. And the moon reflects what it gets. So this is why it's important for the men to become spiritual and to become connected to the Torah so they can have something to give. Because if they have nothing to give, they're just getting a reflection of exactly what he has through his wife. So it's extremely important to understand that. And once you do your job, then financially you're more successful. The mazal picks up. Because remember, it comes from her wife. So the mazal picks up. So this is where we have a cross-gender issue today. Maybe this is why women want to become men. Who knows? Who knows what's going on today? But at the end of the day, you need to understand your role. If we don't understand who's the quarterback and who's the receiver, we can't even go to round 2. Now, let me ask you a question. The he's smoking marijuana, he's not working, he's no self-esteem, and he's showing up to a date, and what is the girl gonna say? I'm gonna have kids with this schmuck? I'm gonna have kids with this guy? He can't even stop smoking? He can't put the porn away? I'm gonna have kids with this guy? So of course she's gonna reject you. Do you understand? Of course she has to reject you, because she senses, remember, men are chokhmah, women are feelings. They have intuition. So you have to understand these concepts. Don't hate the players, and don't blame the game either. This is why, at the end of the day, if you do your role, and we know this from Abraham, he attracted his wife for Yitzhak. It came to him. If she follows me or not. That's why the Gemara tells you she's going to either help you or go against you. What do you mean, go against you? Either she's going to help you or go against you. Okay? So that's extremely important, that blaming is the number one way to stay in a problem. I'm telling you the rules just so you understand the big picture. So when you're having relations and you're hooking up, you are not being a giver, you are just getting. So anytime you're getting, there's no beneficial thing out of it. Because you just become a taker. You don't become a giver. And that itself causes all kinds of problems. And if that is your intention at all times, then that becomes, there's no mazal, there's no bracha, nothing lasts. And if you look at marriage, it's very simple. They'll tell you the same thing. He's a taker. He doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to do this. And this is where, according to the Arizal, that is our mission. That is our missions, to become the son, to become the giver, to grow, and etc. And this is why it's very scary, because if you have people, unfortunately, getting confused in life, then they don't commit. This is one aspect. There's also another aspect that we shouldn't get confused sometimes of the journey of going to finding a soulmate. Sometimes it's a very confusing thing. Reb Nachman said this 250 years ago. He said that each person, each man has many zivugim. Many. We think, I lost the zivug on the trip to Morocco. I'll never find her again. You're watching too much Arabian Nights or Aladdin. Okay. There's hope. You have many zivugim. And guess what? It doesn't mean because you did what you did, you lost it. Everything can be found. There's never a reason to despair. Whatever happened, you fix it, you rectify the problem. Exactly. Not only when you fix it, you rectify the problem, but whatever you did in the past becomes a mitzvah. Goes for the positive. So the only thing that's stopping you from changing is your attitude. Because if I say today, if I come back with joy and I said, you know what, I didn't know this was causing me this. I didn't know I was this way. And tomorrow I say, you know what, I'm ready for a comeback. My Creator will open the door for me, and the past will become, not only, it won't go against me, but it will go for me. So even that's not an excuse. So extremely important to understand that. If you made a mistake, all you got to do is fix the same thing you did. It's that, don't create more of an illusion than that. Sometimes we say, well, how can I start now? I did this. That's in your head. It's not reality. Reality is the door is open. The door is open. And not only is it open, but wherever you want to go, they will lead you to. This is why we need the message of Hasidut, of Chabad, of Breslov, because there's a lot of warmth. There's no, oh, you're going to go to hell if you do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do. No. Everything is warmth. Everything is warmth. So you come back with joy. We don't come back with fear. We come back with joy, and that joy doubles it up. It doubles up. The sins become merits, which is an amazing thing. So Reb Nachman said, he says that there are many, many zivugim. There are all kinds of levels of variation of zivugim. It says sometimes a person has to go through many dates. He has to go through many, even you should meet her, she should meet him. Even that itself could have been a zivug. Sometimes it could be that a person even he went through a divorce. Or sometimes it was an engagement that broke off. All of these things is because sometimes a person has to go through his life and pass through his 7 zivugim. And the 8th will work out. So sometimes you say, how many days am I going to go on? How many times am I going to go on? Don't count. You could have been in a previous life, you had to go through 7 people and meet the 8th person. So sometimes we think, well, if I'm not married by 33, why would I be married by 34? Again, that is all in your head. That is all in your head. That's not what he's saying here. He's saying here, there's times where that you have to go through these dates and this process, because those are part of zivugim, but he says here, you have many zivugim. It's not like you lost the person. And guess what? Even if you don't marry your soulmate, if the Arizal says that if you meet somebody and you guys work together well, that person will get the spark of the original soulmate. So we have to stop watching these movies, these romance models. I lost the soulmate when I was 24. You have to get rid of that nonsense in the head. Because all of this is the Yetzer Hara's trick to get you into despair. It's nonsense. You understand? It breaks, start dating again. Staying in the past doesn't do anything for anybody. Doesn't do anything for your Creator. It's extremely important that it's sometimes in heaven destined that you should meet many zivugim, even if it's just a match. And it doesn't work out, there's a reason behind it. Even if you did nothing wrong and it broke off, there's a reason for that also. It's because you possibly had to go through many people in order to find the one. You understand? So don't think because you haven't had success in this area, that doesn't mean that you'll never have success in this area. That is completely in your head. And it's extremely important to understand that. I gave a class in Miami, a singles class. We had a beautiful Shabbaton in Miami. John Goodman is a marriage therapist, and he was able to predict 91% chance of divorce. He says he could almost predict within a couple to see, there was a few attributes, that within 91% accuracy, he was able to predict whether or not that couple would get divorced or not. And he said a lot of this came down to this concept called the 80-20 ratio. Okay? The bottom line is, can you find 80% good in you and 20% bad? Is your self-esteem greater? Do you have more 80% more 80%? Can you find 4 positive things out of 5 in your life? Or you see 1 positive thing and 4 bad things? This is extremely important message to understand. Because what's going to happen in life is we treat others and we view others based on how we view ourselves. Do you understand? Just like a parent cannot give love to a child if they have no love to give. You could never tell a parent, hey, you play basketball with me if, God forbid, they're handicapped. Because they can't play. They have legs to play with basketball with you. So the same thing, people cannot give you love if they don't have it. So if they can't give you love, then what do you think it's going to look like? Criticism all day long. So it's extremely important to understand what he said is very true, which is exactly Reb Nachman's lesson 282. Can I start looking into my life and finding 80% good in my life? Because like I said yesterday, when you find good in you, that means you found godly in you. Do you understand? If I find good in myself, that means I found the godliness in me. So guess what I do when I find godliness in me? I see godliness in you. Okay? But if I have 20% godliness in me, then I'm going to see 20% godliness in you. I'm going to see 80% of problems that you have because I have 80% problems. We don't see things the way they are, guys. We see things the way we are. Understand? We don't see the way things are. We see the way we are. You can see that clearly today, where you see situations politically. Some sectors, they're very narrow-minded. They see everything through a victim mentality. Even though you're in freaking America, for God's sake. It's a land of opportunity. You don't live in Nicaragua, for God's sake. You're in a victim mentality in America? You can wake up early and you get a job. But people can believe that you're in a victim. This is a victimized people. Is that true? No. But if you view life as a victim, you're going to see nothing but victimization. So the same thing, the same principle goes dating. If the whole purpose of marriage is appreciating versus resentment, if you cannot fix this when you're single, what do you think is going to look like when you're married? It's going to be hell. Because all you're going to see is what? What's wrong with them? And there's a very simple process in life. And this is the problem with women. Okay? Because we said women are connected more to the sadness. So usually, instead of owning the issue, who's the cause of my problems? It's got to be my husband. It's got to be my husband. It's got to be the guy I'm dating. So they have more of a yetzer hara to blame other people because their problem is speech. Guy's problem is eyes. Woman's problem is speech. That's the tikkun. Tell a guy in L.A. to stop looking at women, it's a miracle. He'll be the Baba Sali tomorrow. Tell a woman to stop talking Lashon Hara, miracle. Tell a woman, you know what? Say 9 nice things about all your Persian friends. What? A miracle. It'll be a miracle. Imagine a Persian mother saying 99 things about her Persian friends. A miracle. It'll be a miracle. How could that possibly be? Because the yetzer hara is, I need to put you down so I feel good about myself. And that's the problem. This is why we have such problems in life today. Because people have to put each other down so they can feel good about themselves. Instead of building a bigger building, no, I want your building to be knocked down so at least I feel good about myself. But we have these issues. There was a study of why usually men leave relationships. And why do they stop working? Why do they stop putting the effort in? Okay? Gary Newman said it best. And if you go to a game, right, for example, you've gone to Laker games, I'm sure, and you see there's no chance to win. They're down by 20 points in the fourth quarter. Everybody's walking out of the game, right? It's a common thing, right? What happens? If a man believes that he has no chance to win, he's going to stop trying. You understand? He will stop trying. He will not work. He will not work anymore. Because if he knows no matter what he does, he can't make you happy, then you know what he's going to do? He's going to stop trying. Because if he does good, you're going to get criticized it. And if he doesn't do good, you're going to get criticized it. So why even try? Why even try? So if you cannot start appreciating today, and it's so easy to get guys to do things for you. It's so easy. Guys are so simple. All you have to do is compliment them and tell them, I'm so grateful for what you did for me. And what do you think a guy wants to do his whole life? He wants to score. Not that way. Not that way. He wants to get the compliment again. So you know what he's going to do? He's going to go out of his way to do a nicer thing for you because you complimented on the first thing. Do you understand? It's so easy. You can get the guy to do the exact same thing. All you have to do is change your language. And he will do it for you. But when you come down and you criticize and you're the IRS and you're auditing him, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. Oh, forget it. I don't want to be audited. I'd rather not do it. So women have an issue with appreciation. So if they come in there, they don't feel good about themselves, and they're going to go and throw the guy. It's the guy's fault for every single problem. Then what do you think the guy's going to do? Check out. I can't win anyway. Why would I try? So this is where your struggle is simcha. Your struggle is appreciation. And if you don't have that appreciation, the guy stops trying. And the guy checks out. And he checks out somewhere else. Who knows who he checks out to? Whoever gives him attention. Whoever gives him a kind word. And then you have a bad marriage. And then you have a bad situation. And that's your struggle. And you need to understand that. So if you don't practice appreciation right now, what do you think you're going to get? Nobody wants to marry the IRS. Do you understand? Nobody wants to marry the IRS. Nobody wants to get audited every minute. Nobody wants to. Who would want that? But this is the way, if you don't feel good about yourself, this is how you take your anger on. Again, that's your challenge. Man's challenge is a complete different problem. They have their own problems. So this is where we get to the point, well, he's not good enough for me. I can get better. He's not good enough for me. He's not good enough for me. And then what happens? Oh, I guess nobody's good enough for you? And this is where arrogance takes over. And we have to be careful to remember we are there to help them. They're there to be helped. Of course, they have to have the potential. They have to have the light. But you're there to help them. You're the contraction to bring the light. But you can't be, again, just criticizing without. Everything in life comes down to two concepts. The right hand and the left hand. Kindness and discipline. If you have too much of this, you have enabling. If you have too much of this, you're too strict and you're too tough. It's about the combination of both. That is called dot. When you have the right and the left. So when you appreciate things, what happens? Things appreciate for you. And then, who's not going to want to marry a happy wife? Who's not going to marry a happy wife? But if you're saying nothing is good, I need to be here, I need to be here, I need to this, nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. It's the bottom line. So, but we get things, when we come to this world, we have to recognize we are guests in this world, and whatever we get is a gift. But if you come in there saying, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, you're putting yourself in a position to lose. And I promise you, all the blessings come to people after marriage, not before marriage. After marriage. After marriage, shalom is the biggest vehicle for peace. If you ask people, the blessings come afterwards, not before. So when people work well, and they work well together, and they work on themselves, the soul goes up and illuminates and it brings blessings. This is why, again, Parnasa comes from the wife, not the girlfriend. We need to start converting, but we also have to meet people that are happy, because if she doesn't see in anything happiness in nothing, then I'm just going to be in a bad relationship. So you have to ask yourself. And the only reason why you're doing that yourself is because, again, we only treat people bad, or we only are unappreciative if we are not happy with ourselves. And that's something that you can't fix. Other people can't fix this for you. You have to see the good points in yourself to be able to see the good points in others. And this is why it's so important to be able, whether if you've gone through a bad relationship, whether if you've gone through failure, it's important to forgive yourself, let it go, and give yourself mercy. Have self-compassion for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Perfectionists only end up in prison. You think, when's the last time you saw a perfectionist with a smile? Show me one perfectionist that you saw that has a smile on their face. They can't, because not everything's perfect. And this is why you have to get out of this perfectionist, and you have to get into the good enoughist. It's good enough. It's good enough. Perfection, 0. Good enough. Is this good? Good enough. And this is the classic teaching of Reb Nachman of finding the good, because finding the good is finding the godly. Finding the good is finding the godly. So when you find godly, you have this Shekhinah in your life, in your relationship. What do you think that looks like? It's called peace. But when we just focus on, when we don't know how to deal with ourselves, and we always blame others for our own problems, what do you think you see? You only see the negative in you. All you're doing is feeding the ego. So ask yourself today, if you're looking for the one, are you spending 80% of the time becoming the one? That means you have to focus on your self-esteem, find all the good points in yourself, smile, be happy, be perfectly imperfect, and just take the edge off. And if you do that, that person will see that they're not being judged. Because there's a lot of judgment on dates. Do you understand? There's a lot of judgment, right? You're good, you're bad. You're not good, you're this. You're good, you're bad. You guys are judges? You're not judges. You're there to understand. You're there to lift, not to be. That's extremely important. Judgmental is done when your life is run with fear. And what happens when we run with our ego? All we're focusing on is, how am I going to look? Not what is good. The ego runs the show. It's all about, how is the external experience? What are my friends going to think about if I date this girl? What is my mother going to think about if I date this girl? What is the outside world thinking? Not what is good for me. What is good for me is to be in a relationship where I'm challenged, I'm growth, not what looks good on a picture. Because that's not going to last at the end of the day. We know that. So we're just giving the ego its juice. So how do you break these walls in life? How do you break these walls? How do you start loving yourself? It's called prayer. It's called loving yourself, investing time in yourself, self-care. Investing in yourself, taking care of yourself, talking good to yourself. That is the purpose. Illuminate the soul, not sit there and butcher yourself. I'm not making enough money. I'm not making this. So you're rejecting yourself, and then you're wondering, why am I getting rejected by other people? Explain to me that one. Explain to me that one. If you reject yourself, the whole world will reject you. If you accept yourself, the whole world will accept you. It's that easy. It's just this. We're in this whole world, And we're trying to put up certain walls and certain pictures, and this is all leading us to zero. All you're getting is single people. That's it. That's all you're getting. More single people. More single people. More walls. More ego. Guys, they don't have this problem in Sfat. They don't have this problem in Sfat, guys. They don't have this problem in Bnei Brak. They don't have this problem. It's in Miami, LA, New York. Where is this problem, guys? It's not in Sfat. I couldn't have this class in Sfat. I'd be out of business. I have nothing to talk about. Everybody's married with 100 kids. Imagine having this class in Sfat. What a joke would it be? What are you talking about? We know this already. We're connected. Life made us disconnected. I'm just telling you from experience, this is what you have to work on. Because when you show up with 80% positivity in yourself, automatically, then you have something to give. But if you're showing up, two people are dating, imagine two people show up to a therapist. I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I do like this. So he already predicted 91% divorce. 91% divorce. So this is why you have to understand, this is the training for divorce, God forbid. I've been divorced. I got remarried. I learned. And it's the most important part in your life is appreciation. If you don't have that, because you can't appreciate, but you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't open up, you can't do that. That's why it's so important you have to physically open up. So ask yourself, what is the number that you guys have tonight? What percentage of self-love do you have? Ask yourself. Ask yourself, what percentage of self-love, how much judgment versus understanding do you have? Are you more of an understand, or do you understand more, or do you judge more? When you go on a date, are you shooting up red flags in 5 seconds? You're shooting up 5 right away, 5 red flags? That means you have a lot of judgment. You're living in a world of din. You're living in the world of justice, of din. Din brings nothing. Or are you saying, you know what? I saw this in the guy, I saw this in the guy, I saw this in the guy. This could use a little work. But I found 4 good things in him. One thing is not so good. I can work with it. That is just a matter of focus. It's just a matter of focus because you're going to have to do this in marriage. I'll save you tons of money in marriage therapy. I'll save tons of money. But remember, we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot give what we don't have. The reason why you can't stay in the past is because if you stay in the past, what do you have to give? All you're going to do is blame the new guy for what the old guy did. How many times has the new guy taken a hit for what the old guy did? How many times? How many times did the old girl take a hit for what the guy did? How many times? That person just showed up. But when you go to the airport and you pick up other people's luggage that's not yours and you come and bring it to new relationships, that's called baggage. This baggage doesn't allow you to receive. And the way to deal with baggage is prayer. And most of us have tons of baggage. If you are not dedicating a certain time every single day to talk to your Creator, you're just accumulating baggage after baggage after baggage. One bad relationships, another one, another one, another one. It's just all baggage. So you have to take these relationships and you have to elevate them and get rid of the baggage and show up. I promise you there's many attractive people here. There's a lot of dates happening. It's not like nobody's going to the supermarket, nobody's going to the mall. But nobody's committing. Why? Because there's confusion. It's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion. That's the problem. This is why Rabbi Arush says you can marry the worst person and you can have the best marriage. You can marry the best person and you can have the worst marriage. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. Maybe you didn't know that. But whatever you're going to marry, 99% they're going to change. You're going to buy a Tesla, It's going to end up being a G-Wagon. You say, what the hell is this? I bought this. You think it's just automatically this is what you get? You think it's automatically just because the guy you met the first day is going to be the same? Never. I didn't know this was going to be this. The whole purpose is if you're flexible, then you can constantly grow. But I guarantee you, who you marry will not be the same person. So if you're so guaranteed to be sure about the person right away, it's got to be the perfect one, he's going to change anyway. And you're going to change anyway. So you're being so sure about something that's going to end up changing. Do you understand? This is why I got married in 60 days, because I knew this is going to happen. And you're going to learn on the way. Either way, you're going to learn on the way. It's not like, okay, I did it, I'm done. No. That's the second stage. And I was very realistic to recognize they're going to change anyway. But if I fix my relationship with my Creator, I can deal with it. But if I don't have my relationship with my Creator, that's where life takes a hit. So let's talk a little bit about. So we spoke about the 80-20 rule, right? We spoke about we have to work on tonight 8 points. 80% of your self-esteem has to go up. 80% of your self-esteem. How do you work on your self-esteem? You invest in yourself. You take care of yourself. You put yourself in the best position. Get in the best shape in life. Whatever you got to do, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, not in remember, the reason why we can't find the one is because we're too busy finding the one, not becoming the one. We need to spend more time becoming the one, not finding the one. Because your Creator already knows, okay, so you're going to meet that person. It's not going to work out because you're not going to like this, you're not going to like that. Just think about what we spoke about yesterday, the red flags, right? From the soccer moms. I don't like this. I don't like this. Red flag. But you guys, 4 or 5 good things. No, this is no good. 20% no good, no good. Go find me a perfect person in LA. Go find me one perfect person in LA. Does it exist? Impossible. It doesn't exist. So you have to work on this tonight. You have to work on, and it's extremely important. We want to tell, there's a concept in life is I can look at a telescope. See, here right now we're all looking at the telescope. There's a big telescope in the room, and we're looking at the wedding, right? But then I need to look at the microscope afterwards. If I just stay in the telescope, I'm not going to get anything in life. Because that's just a telescope. That's a goal. That's a vision. Then I need to make a decision. I need to look at the microscope to see what's happening. What is happening to get to the telescope? That means if you're going to visualize things, don't visualize La La Land getting married in Santa Monica. Visualize yourself doing the work to get you to get married. Don't visualize the goal. Visualize the work. Visualize the guys doing every day, fixing this, tikkun klali, being self-compassionate, being more kind, being more grateful. Visualize the day work. Don't visualize the microscope, the telescope. You're in a telescope all day long, but you have to look at the microscope. So when we focus too much on the telescope, this telescope is wonderful, but how do we get to that goal? So that's where you have to work on this month in life. Whatever failure you had, either I won or I learned. Failures do not make you, if anytime you have a failure that you lose your self-esteem because of the failure, then you're over-criticizing yourself. You got divorced or you got a master's in communication. You got a lesson in marriage. You're more humbled. Divorced people are more humbled usually. They got humbled up. Life hit them hard. They humbled up. They know what's good. They know what's not good. Doesn't mean they're bad people. They have more experience than you do. So you need to work on taking the failures, elevate them, and saying, this doesn't make me worse. It makes me better because either you win or you learn in life. So you learned. And that's extremely important. Because the reason why we have this 80% of negativity is because we're too hard on ourselves, and the failures, you're taking it personally. And if you took the failures and you elevated them, then you would be vulnerable, you'd be able to compliment and to be grateful and to not be afraid that you're not going to get it back. And this is where it's happening today. We're lacking vulnerability because we're too afraid that we're not going to get back. It's extremely important. Self-love, the Persian community needs a lot of love. A lot of love. Self-love, because if you have it, you give it. But if you don't have it, how could you give it? You can't give it. And then what happens? That person's going to say, well, I'm not going to get married to this. And this is where if the man does his job, he compliments, he gives her the light, and he gets the light right back. This is not easy. That means marriage is the most rewarding and challenging thing you have to deal with in life. We underestimate how much work it has to be done, but you get the most reward, but it is the greatest challenge in the world. It is the greatest challenge in the world. But you at least have to understand what your role is. Another concept I just want to talk about with guys is what is a klipa, okay? A klipa is when a person, just like for example, if I have a guy sitting here and all of a sudden there's nobody there and I throw the ball there. All of a sudden it's a missed catch. It's a miss. Anytime that a person uses the sexual organ, instead of being a giver, like I just gave you the example, he just does it for selfishness. In order to avoid, because remember, if the whole point of having relations is for you to make her happy, it's not for you to get rid of your unhappiness. It's not to be used because the seed has potential for children. But if the seed is used to get rid of your frustrations, then it becomes a klipa. And what a klipa is a husk that attaches on a person, and it does three things. Klipas make you very depressed. It's called a storm wind. It makes you very, very depressed. It makes you very agitated, and it gives you brain fog. Now, let me ask you a question. If you have a guy who has sadness, brain fog, what are the chances that he's going to commit to get married? 0! 0. Do you understand? Why would he doesn't have vision, he doesn't have clarity. So for men, there's tikkun klalis in the room. Saying the tikkun klali and stopping filling the seed, it's not an easy thing. But we don't need more confusion. Marriage is already confusing enough. You don't need to add to the problem. So when we show up with all of this negativity and all this, there's no possible way, even if we had a soulmate, we would even know if she was a soulmate. Do you understand? It's almost like taking a guy who's super overweight and giving him a menu of 30 things. And you tell him, can you just make a decision? He has an eating addiction. You're going to show him 30 things on the menu? It's going to be forever. But if he knows, this is why good restaurants don't have 50 things on the menu. They have 4 things on the menu. 5 things. This is all you get. If you don't like this, it's not the restaurant for you. Every kosher restaurant puts sushi on the menu. You understand? Mexican, sushi. Pete, sushi. What's up with sushi lately? It's not good to have too much on the menu. That means the food is diluted. They don't specialize in anything. Too many things is a problem. 3 things, 4 things. For example, you go to Herzog. There's no sushi on the menu in Herzog. In Tierra del Sur, it's a farm-to-table restaurant. The same thing. Less is more. So for men, they have to work on this issue because that's causing them the problem. That's causing them not to find the one. Also, what happens when a person has klipas? Number 1, it confuses him. It destroys his self-confidence. It makes him sad. And then all of a sudden, what do you think it looks? Is a person who's confident going to show up and say, "Can I take you out on a date?" No. Why? Because he's gonna fear he's gonna get rejected. So this is like a vicious cycle that has to be fixed. And you could start by reading Tikkun HaKlali. You could start by going to the mikvah. Anything spiritually gets rid of the klipot and puts them back into place. This is what Reb Nachman wrote. And this is how my life changed. My life changed when I started reading Reb Nachman's teachings. And once I had clarity, the rest is over. But if we don't have that clarity, it's very hard to make decisions. You understand? It's very hard because even if you have a perfect soulmate, that person will be blind to see who's the one. Without clarity, we have nothing. So this is where I work on clarity. So this is today's class. We'll start taking some questions. Okay.